private era where we're seeing so much transformation. I've been in networking for decades, I think 30 plus years, and I think this is the most exciting time ever in my whole career, so I'm really blessed and excited. Let me talk about what we're going to be working on and talking about in this session. This is the vision that the board asked me to put in place in April at our Greece meeting. The board approved this vision and the strategy, and now we're executing on the strategy. So I'd like to take the time on this session to articulate that vision and strategy, and so let's just go. So basically, number one is we're seeing that there's a big change. As you know, this digital transformation is showing up everywhere. It's changing lives, the processes, everything's digitizing, and all that information is going to be stored in the cloud. I mean, today it's hybrid, some on the premise, some on the cloud, but most of it's going in the cloud, and will continue to be that trend. And I think we've seen enough presentations on that, so I won't spend a ton of energy on this. But there are some really key significant challenges that the consumer of the telecommunication services are facing. And this is something that they've never really grappled with in the past. Number one is, as they go to the cloud, they're faced with so much cloud complexity. Some data is on-prem, some is on the cloud. They all have a multi-cloud strategy, especially the medium, large, and the multinationals. And they're also plagued with, how do I make sure that the food chain from where my device is to the cloud, how does that food chain working, operating correctly for my applications? How do I get visibility? As you've heard from many people, why SD-WAN's become such a big technology. How do I make sure that that posture, whether that user is mobile or at work, is actually getting secured? So these are the kind of areas the enterprises are being focused on and challenged on. And really, the service providers have the equal challenges, and mainly we've heard it throughout the sessions and keynotes. There are bandwidth and margin erosion. We heard that from Kevin O'Toole. We see highly manual processes still being involved, especially intercarrier. Provisioning timeline being long. Everyone wants everything now. And the complexities, of just the OSS and integrating the modernization of lifecycle service orchestrators into legacy systems. So these are all huge complexities. So really, what we've done at the MEF. In 2001, we started this carrier Ethernet, or this Ethernet wave, and it drove for a very, very long time. And back then Ethernet was in the LAN, and Ethernet past the LAN was just crazy and blasphemy. Now Ethernet, and carrier Ethernet specifically, is pervasive and ubiquitous all over the world, and is the predominant technology that's tying everything in the information systems, in my opinion. And MEF has been the sole authority to driving that. And it's now an $80 billion market, 50 billion services, 30 billion products, and continues to grow at rapid rates. But really, what we've decided was, as a mission, and this is a big mission, is to basically take what we've learned and the gold standard that we've done in carrier Ethernet and apply this to other services, what we're calling this cloud-native services, where all the telecommunication market industry is moving towards. These kind of services that are cloud ready, that have built-in orchestration capabilities, have the assuredness of the bandwidth, performance of the applications, the security. These are very critical areas, and all of that can't be static. It can't be about people provisioning that. It has to be about machines that are driving those assured services. And those machines have to be not only within the service provider network, but have to be interconnected, as you'll see and we'll talk about. And they also have to continue going in the ecosystem in the enterprises and the hyperscale OTT. So that whole ecosystem has to connect eventually. So that's the automation. So really, MEF has the credibility, has the track record, has driven an $80 billion market, and we want to apply that rigor and gold standard to the rest of the services we'll talk about. So basically, we believe that the services will be doing carrier Ethernet. And you can see that you can say this is a really big vision and mission, and I'll show you how we've already executed on this. But basically, this is a very large market for our member base to go after. It's not just about moving bits from one location to the other. It's about making those bits very intelligent. And I think we're already on that trajectory, and we've seen a lot of sessions talking about that. So I won't spend a lot of energy. But like I talked about, these services have to be interconnected with automation. And that's really what MEF's now taken on. It's the service definition that we're really good at, that gold standard, that how a service should behave, not how it's implemented, but how it should behave from a buyer or between two operators, that behave in that language, and then how to make that automation work. And that automation we're really focused on is a bunch of set of APIs. So what do I mean by the APIs? As you can see, we released a couple of years ago this framework that now has driven, lifecycle service orchestration. And that lifecycle service orchestration is basically about these reference points. So we decompose what we believe lifecycle service orchestration should be, and we've described these reference points, and now have become industry standards, and we are now describing APIs on these reference points. So with this mission, this vision, big, bold, just like in 2001 was Ethernet was going to go everywhere, and at that time it was only in the LAN, we have a big, bold mission and vision. And I want to talk to you that not only do we have that mission and vision, it's not just pie in the sky, it's not just paper and slides, it's real activities, and we got significant traction. I'm going to go through that. So at MEF17, we launched a big framework called MEF 3.0. MEF 3.0 is really about this idea of 4 quadrants, these services. I talked about just briefly this automation, mainly around APIs. I'm going to dig into this. Then about our certification, that is well known in the industry. That certification is basically now very agile. It's cloud-based, it's on-demand, and so we even transformed how we do certification. And then finally, we moved into the world of a community that can partner and do syndicated R&D together with our members, who can actually work on projects without having to write paper, and we'll talk about more of that. So we have a very expanded community, and I'm going to walk around these quadrants really fast and talk about where we're going next and how we've changed the MEF process to be very agile to deliver on this. So the first thing I want to talk about is the services. As people can say, hey, big vision, bold vision, mission, but she's going to take in more than the ocean. The answer is no. We're actually being very methodical about and very surgical on how we're executing on this. And as you can see, the first 3 layers, IP, optical, and carrier Ethernet, it's already being released. We've already released specifications in this area, and we'll continue to evolve that, especially carrier Ethernet. And those are kind of legacy services. We all know how to do that, but the important aspect is we've made them orchestratable ready. They're not just static services that you can't have an API to. We have defined the attributes that APIs can use to build up the data models so they're orchestratable ready. And I'm proud to say today we released out this week our SD-WAN specification. The first in the industry to define how and what is SD-WAN, the language, the behavior, and more importantly, the application performance objectives and how to measure that. So I'll go more into that. As we move up, and I'll talk about the end, we'll move up the stack, we'll go up into other areas of other virtualized services. But right now, we're executing the bottom 4 that I've just described. The other area that, under SD-WAN, for example, I talked about this, it's describing the framework, the architecture, the language, it's describing the constructs, and it's also describing, if you download the spec, the actual application, how to measure application performance, how to group applications, how to get performance objectives out of it. So I encourage you to get the spec if you're a member, and we're hoping to make this publicly available because it's part of our new model to have early standards draft, early standards to be put to the public to get feedback. So the other area I want to talk about is our LSO API roadmap. As you can see, we're already executing on lots of areas in this. We already did Presto, we already did Legato, we're now releasing in a developer release preview the Sonata work, and we continue to evolve. And you can see at the very top of the core framework, we have the MEF55 architecture, and we'll continue to evolving the actual foundations for LSO, all the modeling, the framework, the processes, and so on. So there's a lot of activities in many work streams in all of these areas happening from our members, and kudos to our membership for delivering a lot of this vision. So I'm going to cover just briefly on Sonata. That's another big release we we announced at the show. It's available for developer preview. And I'm going to get into the actual kind of roadmap. So these are some of the use cases, the ability to check an address, to be able to check the inventory of the address, what's available, to get a price quote, to basically place of orders. This is BSS to BSS to business systems doing that automation between providers. But as you can see, it doesn't stop there. We're already halfway into trouble ticketing. Work's already started. It's halfway being evolved, and eventually we'll release that shortly in a release 2. And we'll continue to evolve into the whole idea of the whole contractual billing. We just went into letter ballot for our commercial attributes project, which will then drive the ability to deliver on contract billing and finally the ability to sell on money. This is all very important aspects of the business to run a business. So really proud of the work the team did here. Again, execution, services, execution, SD-WAN, execution, APIs, execution. It's not pie in the sky. It's not paper. It's not vapor. And in fact, I encourage you to see you can actually download the SDK to actually see all these APIs.